subscribing at the bottom and hitting the bell, the notification, so that when a new video comes out that you are able to watch it. So I am going to really just kind of apologize up front for this video because I get pretty heated and I get pretty passionate about this topic because I am for 100% about doing business the right way and the honest way. And I think people think that this topic is pretty harmless, but it's lying. Like, it's just not true. So what happens when a seller or a realtor is asking for proof of funds? What do you do? So I see it all the time in these Facebook groups. They're like, what do I do? Seller is asking for proof of funds. And you people keep putting in these links to these websites where they provide fake proof of funds. Like, you're lying to the seller. Why are you freaking lying to the seller? Like, they're fake proof of funds. You have no interest in buying this property at all. Like, if you want to go and get approved through a hard money lender and then you can't get the deal closed and then you actually purchase the property, that's a totally different subject. Like, do that. Actually, that's a really good thing to do. But if you do not actually have proof of funds and you are providing fake proof of funds, you are lying. You are being deceptive. And to me, that is going to be, everybody's always like, they're already worried that wholesaling is going to be outlawed and illegal and you're going to have to become a real estate agent just to be able to wholesale. And guess what? That right there is going to be one of the things that's going to make that happen, whether you want to hear it or not. Do not lie and do not be deceptive. And yes, that is lying, and yes, that is being deceptive. So what can you do when a seller asks or a real estate agent asks for proof of funds? So I'll touch base with the real estate agent. So for those of you guys that don't really know, I am an investor-friendly realtor. I really only work with wholesalers. And then I'll list the property afterwards. So I use both sides of that, and I understand completely how investors work and how wholesalers work. And yes, I love wholesalers. Sometimes they drive me nuts, just like other realtors do as well. So that's okay. But if you are working with a realtor, and a realtor is asking for proof of funds, they probably don't understand that you are wholesaling this property, and you really need to walk them through wholesaling this property. And I will do a whole other video on how to talk to and work with a realtor on a transaction like this, where, I mean, if they would ask for proof of funds. So I'll do a whole nother video on that. But if you have a realtor that is asking for proof of funds, you need to explain to them that you are wholesaling the contract. And then when you find an end buyer, that you will give them proof of funds from that end buyer once you assign that contract. You can write it in that as soon as it's assigned, within 24 hours, that you provide proof of funds. You can say within 10 days of being under contract, I have to provide you proof of funds on an assignable contract, otherwise you get out of it. Easy. Put it in your contract, guys. You don't have to provide it up front and right away if it's in your contract like that you'll provide it in 10 days from your buyer. It's not that big of a deal. But if a real estate agent, they should be asking for proof of funds. So that should not be a shocker that a realtor is asking for proof of funds. You just have to know how to go about the right way on how to provide that to them. Where you get that proof of funds is going to be from your buyer. So you also need to be vetting your buyer to make sure that they can actually purchase this property too. So whether it's cash, take a screenshot of their bank account if you want to, a letter from the bank, pre-approval from the bank, a letter from the hard money lender, whatever it is, you need to be getting that information from your buyer too. Like, you need to make sure that these people can close as well. I'm actually pretty shocked that more people in the investor world don't ask for this. I'd probably say no one has asked me for this. Working with wholesalers and just coming from the traditional side of things, we always ask. We want to make sure that you can close. So it's kind of crazy to me that more investors aren't asked this. But that is the case. So if you are asked from a wholesaler, from a seller, to provide proof of funds, One, that should tell you that that seller is somewhat educated because they know to ask for proof of funds. Two, I see this all the time. People are like, they're not motivated. What do you mean they're not motivated? That has nothing to do with motivation. To me, it shows that they're more motivated because they want to make sure that they're working with someone that can actually close the deal. Why would they not ask for proof of funds? So that doesn't mean that they're not motivated by any means. Two, they are probably working with a realtor or are a realtor or are an investor. Again, being educated. But tell them, explain to them, hey, I have a buyer. I will be able to provide to you proof of funds within the next 10 days. Put it in your contract. Make that part of the deal. If you're continuously being asked about proof of funds, look back at how you're approaching these sellers, because there's probably something that you're saying that's in your script that you use when you approach the sellers that is making them think that and making them ask that question. So I was told this from a mentor before, that if multiple clients are asking you the same question over and over and over again, say something like, go over that objection, fight that objection up front, and say, make it part of your spiel that here's my contract, proof of funds will be provided to you in 10 days, type thing. And just put that in the contract, and then you'll say it, you'll go over it. If you have a problem with this, quite a bit, or find whatever verbiage, try to figure out whatever verbiage you're using that you're making these sellers ask this question. The sunlight is right in my eye right here. Oh, look, we'll just do that. No, I'm kidding. So if you keep having sellers ask this question, but they are motivated, just because they're asking for proof of funds doesn't mean that sellers aren't motivated by any means. They're just educated. That's the only difference. So make sure that you're not lying, that you aren't doing fake proof of funds, because 100% that's deceptive. This sunlight is really killing me right here. Okay. So just make sure, that you aren't lying about it, you aren't being deceptive with it, and then get it from your buyers. If you have if you know of a buyer that this is going to, ask them up front, hey, I got to provide proof of funds. Send me a screenshot of your bank account. Send me, your hard money lender, whatever it is, and go from there. Already have that ready. If you have 3 core buyers that you have, get that from them up front. And then when you submit your offer, put that proof of funds there and say, this is my business partner, this is who I'm working for, this is their company, here's this. If you wanted to do it that way. But again, don't use the fake proof of funds. If you can and would plan on purchasing the property, if your buyer doesn't close, that's totally different. Provide that. But I hope you guys got some value out of this. I know this question is asked all the time. What do I do when a seller is asking for a proof of funds? So you just kind of got to dig a little bit and see how knowledgeable they really are. Ask if they are a real estate agent, they know a real estate agent, if they're an investor, things like that. You don't have to ask them directly, but ask certain questions to see if you can get those answers out of them. Find out how educated of a seller that they actually are, and that'll really help you. And again, if it's being asked from multiple sellers, there's probably something that you're saying to them that's making them ask.